10 years of adventure here has been incredible. And to think about Raimonda, I danced last night Raimonda with Maria Horova for her debut as Raimonda. And actually 10 years ago, my very first show in this theatre was in Raimonda. Not as Xander Parish, of course, but I was doing the Dvoika. It's the friends of Raimonda, the Baranji, I think was the name of my character. And that was an experience because actually I wasn't cast for that role. When I first came to the theatre, Mr. Fateev, my director, gave me Chopiniana as my debut for the company. But 2 or 3 weeks into my arrival here in Russia, somebody got injured, and the next day I got a call from Yuri and said, "Could you dance Raimonda, this role, Baranji?" And I said, "Okay, sure, when is it?" He's like, "It's in 2 days' time." So 2 or 3 days. So I had literally a couple of rehearsals, and there's a lot to learn. There's absolutely loads to learn. All of Act 1 and Act 2, this character is dancing, holding props, interactions, solos, and it was quite an experience because actually it was my first time dancing a solo on stage. I'd never done a solo before then, but since Royal Ballet school. So I remember just trying to learn everything. I had a bit of paper with all of my steps and bits and pieces, interactions with the characters, props, musical counts, everything on a bit of paper. It was in the wings with me, and I'd look at it and say, "Okay, what's next?" and try and know what to do. And the guy who danced the role the day before me, he very kindly stayed in the wings with me and pushed me on at the right time to do the right steps. And it was quite an experience. So yeah, 10 years later to dance Xander Parish, almost to the month, pretty much almost. It certainly shows progression, 10 years of progression, so that's exciting for me. The day I arrived in Russia, I met Yuri in the wings of the theatre. There was a Nutcracker show, and I just arrived, got off the plane, came to the theatre, and I said to him, "Okay, I'm here, what am I going to dance?" And he said, "Okay, you can dance Chopiniana." I didn't know what it was, because obviously in London it's Les Sylphides. I didn't have a clue what Chopiniana was. I said, "Okay, that's great, which role will I dance?" He said, "There's only one guy in Chopiniana." I was like, and a penny dropped. I twigged it was Les Sylphides. I was like, oh my goodness, wow. So we had a debut date of the 11th of February. And so I had literally 1 month to prepare it, which is actually for here, it's a lot of time. I hadn't realized at that point. Usually you get a few days to rehearse, but I had 4 weeks to rehearse, and I worked with Yuri himself, and he's a terrific ballet master and coach and teacher. He is literally a genius in his understanding of technique, his ability to understand and know how to make your body do things that it's meant to do classically. He's a real wizard with technique and coordination, so he's really amazing. It was the first time I'd ever done a pas de deux on stage. I hadn't done any lifts before that since school, so I had a lot to learn, but it was a good experience. Obviously I spoke zero Russian when I arrived. I didn't understand anything, and the rehearsals was difficult. So Yuri very kindly took me under his wing, and he was my coach for my first few years in the company. He coached me personally when he had time. Obviously being director, he's extremely busy, he has a huge amount of responsibility and work. And when he didn't have time to answer his calls, do his emails and rehearse me, he gave me Igor Petrov as my coach. So Igor coached me for the following 6, 7, 8 years. We worked together a long time. Igor taught me all my roles from Swan Lake through Raimonda even, Xander Parish, Le Corsaire. We worked together on many, many roles, and he taught me a huge amount of stagecraft, partnering, acting on stage. I'm indebted to him for his understanding of stagecraft, especially. His understanding of stagecraft and partnering are terrific, and technique, of course, classical male Russian technique He yells, he shouts, he really pounded me into shape. It's a good thing. When I became principal, eventually I changed coaches because Igor had a lot of work. He coached not only me, but he had another maybe 5 or 6 soloists and principals in the company, plus quarter ballet work as well. His workload plus touring, he was often not around, so I had to have a teacher as a principal who could be with me for longer periods of time. I needed an hour to work on particular roles, not just 10 minutes or 20 minutes, so sadly I had to change, but it was all very amicable. And I now work with Nikita Sheglov, who is a former first soloist of the company here, a hugely talented and able coach and amazing dancer himself. He danced all of the repertoire. He worked in America himself for a while. He even speaks English, which is very useful sometimes, although we speak in Russian usually in rehearsals. And yeah, Nikita's been coaching me for the past 6 months, really, full on, as my one-on-one teacher. And to have a different view actually is also very useful, because to have a different angle, perspective, and different approach to even the same role I've learned maybe 7 years previously, to have the same role but a different view, a different angle onto the same part is very interesting. It's like relearning the ballet from the beginning with a new facet, a new angle. It's been fascinating to relearn Swan Lake with him, relearn Giselle with him, relearn beauty with him as well. So this is it's my next step. It's my progression. It's how I'm learning. Basically, the Mariinsky has such a rich heritage and a rich understanding of classical technique that each coach has been a former dancer themselves in the company of a very high standard. And so each coach has their own personal understanding of each role and how to accomplish that role and how to execute the technique required for that role. And so I'm very fortunate to have many different coaches, different roles, who've danced these parts themselves, often passed down from those who worked the choreographers, in fact. And to have this understanding and knowledge passed down from person to person, that's what builds the Russian technique. That's what builds the Russian understanding of ballet. And that's why it's so rich and so special. Every coach, ballerina, partner, quarter ballet member, we all work together as a team. And every person contributes to that creation of a ballet. And that's teamwork, and that's a family. That's what we are. I've danced more roles than I could have dreamt about in my wildest dreams already. But there's still ones I would love to do. La Bayadere, for instance, is one of my favorite ballets for a male dancer. I think it's the pinnacle of beautiful classical technique on stage with powerful masculine dancing. Grigorovich's Legend of Love is one of my favorite pieces to watch. It's so powerful, amazing music. And I didn't even know about it before I came to Russia. It's so unique to Russia. It's something I would love to have a crack at and to learn and to perform. It's very special. It's a very special piece. So yeah, there's still roles I want to have a go at. I can just walk around a city and just love every corner of it. It's the most beautiful city in the world, in my opinion. In the summer it's lovely with the white nights and the warm weather. That's fantastic. But in the winter or in the autumn, it's actually better when it's below freezing. Canals freeze and it all looks magical. Winter wonderland. Galas and guesting are an important part of any principal dancer's life as a professional, and it's always exciting to go away, gain new experiences, meet new people, see what's out there and what's happening in the ballet world, and then to show what you've learned and see what everyone else is doing as well and make new contacts. It's a small world, the ballet world, and I have many good friends from companies from Amsterdam to everywhere basically, and we meet up in various galas and guestings, and it's always so nice to see them and we hang out and catch up, and It works out really, really well, so that's really nice. Sometimes it can feel like I'm living on a plane or in airports, but you get used to it and you learn how to pack light, have your bag for the plane, and you know where headphones are and how you can sleep, and you get into your routine. I'm an expert traveler now. I could write a book on how to travel. You know, really. I mean, I know exactly what to do. And I have my own life hacks, so to speak, of how to cope. I thought it would be easier to learn Russian than it was. It was really difficult for me. I envy those people who come when they're young to a foreign country, and when the brain is still able to pick up language in a few months or a year or two. You know, I came just after that point, so like I'm still trying to learn. But for me, the language was the hardest thing. Trying to adapt to a new language is very difficult. Fluent is pushing it, but I can get by. I can just say I'm obviously indebted to and very grateful to Yuri Fateev for his vision. This man took a huge risk on bringing me to Russia 10 years ago when it wasn't a trend in any way. He was breaking traditions and breaking unspoken rules by bringing me into the company, and he's put a lot of trust in me, and I hope I've repaid him with that trust by working my hardest and giving him my best. Well, I've grown up a lot. I came here when I was 23, but when I was 23, I was such a kid. I was such a baby. Like, even for my age, I was very young. And I've grown up here. I've learned how to become, I've learned everything. I mean, I came here as a young guy, mentally, physically, and I've grown up here and that's a huge privilege. I've made friends. I've got friends here who I'll have for life. My life's here now, and that's a privilege. I love it here.